Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, we have to talk about Virginia because the scandals are mounting up, not just in New Jersey. They're mounting up in the most high-profile race in Virginia. Now, it seems like the governorship is probably going to go blue. It seems like the lieutenant governorship is probably going to go blue, and you possibly have some scandals that have mounted up for the Republican, even though they're unproven. But then you've got the Attorney General's race, and it's important everybody votes, even if you think one race is going to be, safe for the Democrats or whatever. This is an important election anyways, and it's important to juice turnout because we have to understand what we're really up against here. And just when you think that it's just the crazy people on the left that are having these attitudes toward you, it's not. And I've known that it's not, and I've talked about that. But you have a lot of people that think, okay, well, some people on the left are celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Therefore, it's not the majority because these politicians aren't like that. So, well, that's not true. And we found that out because of how these people behave behind closed doors, how they behave when they're talking to their colleagues. And it's not just the crazies on the fringes, it's the politicians that are supposedly the moderates, the fake moderates. They're no different. They're crazy people. And this is a guy who has a scandal already that broke because a couple years ago, he had a DUI. He was going 116 in a 70. Now, in and of itself, is that the biggest scandal in the world? Probably not. But here is the issue with that. He did community service, but that community service was not to actually help the country or help his community or his state. He did it to help his own political action committee. That is something that is selfish. That is something that probably was not exactly real community service. He was doing things he did anyways and claimed that he was, fulfilling the punishment. That is not cool. That is not somebody that has the ethics to be an attorney general, especially when you talk about all the other crazy weak on crime policies that this guy Jay Jones has. And now a new scandal dropped because already this race, it was Jay Jones's race to lose, and I think he might have lost it. According to Kalshi, according to the betting odds, Republicans are now the favorites in this race. They're down in the polls by like 8 to 9 points at the governorship level. Lieutenant governor, a little bit less than that. Attorney General's race, they were down by about 5. I think that this scandal broke as an October surprise with enough time to change that because this is just absolutely disgusting stuff that we're seeing here from Jay Jones. And you look at these text messages, they're bad. They are bad because he has text messages just being a crazy person. And this is the real Jay Jones. This is somebody who would be one of the most high-profile people in the state of Virginia. You'd be handing the state to this guy. In terms of the Justice Department in the state of Virginia, and he is fantasizing about killing a man and also attacking his 2 children. And this is bad because this is about the former, and this is kind of just a run-of-the-mill guy too. This is what they think of the run-of-the-mill guy as well. This is somebody who is the Republican House Speaker at the time, former colleague, goes on to say, do I think Todd and Jennifer are evil and that they're breeding little fascists? Yeah, so everyone they disagree with is a fascist. And then they say it's okay to commit violence against fascists. What does that mean when you put that mathematical equation together? Well, you're a fascist if you disagree with them, and it's okay to commit political violence against people in their worldview that happen to be like you because you disagree with them. And that is horrific as a concept, but this is something that is shared in a large segment of the left. And the segment of the left that doesn't outwardly say it, they either believe it or are too cowardly to condemn it. And that is a major problem. And when you're not actively condemning it, arguably you could say that that's worse because you're enabling it. Now, he goes on to say, oh no, I genuinely was. He genuinely felt this way about these people. And then this is like his friend trying to calm him down, saying, you were talking about hoping Jennifer Gilbert's children would die. So already he's been on record saying that he wants kids to die because the kids are fascists, the little kids. I mean, in general, what he's saying is horrible, but he's extending that to children. So if people on the right, if you're a father of young children, this is how so many people on the left think about your family. You know, we've said this for a while. People have always said, oh no, you're crazy for saying that the left wants you dead or whatever. No, they actually do. It may not be every person on the left, but it is a lot of people on the left. And then a giant segment of the left is complicit because they won't condemn it and they pretend that there is no problem with violence on the left. And they use the same rhetoric like fascist or whatever when it doesn't need apply to certain situations, and they egg it on. They egg on the crazy mentally ill foot soldiers, and now they're this close to putting one in charge of the Justice Department in a state that is somewhat competitive, and that's scary. Now, hopefully this sinks his campaign, but if this guy wins after this, it's just abysmal, because if you're a Democrat and you vote for this, especially knowingly, because it's going to have to be on the airwaves, but if you're voting for this guy at all, then that tells me something about these people, because he's on the ballot. And if this guy's able to win 90-some% of Democrats, which I think he's going to get close to it, I think the independents, I think that that would be scarier if he wins, because it means he's winning independents, and that means that independents are okay with it. And again, you look at what happened to somebody like a Mark Robinson. All Mark Robinson did was post edgy things in a forum. That was like supposed to be the worst thing ever, the craziest scandal. And then this guy's talking about wanting kids to die and talking about shooting the people and the family of people that he disagrees with, his colleagues. Like, this is eons worse than anything, any scandal that any Republican has had going back a long time. And when you look at his response too, he says only when people feel pain do they move on policy. So he's saying, oh no, we're gonna beat these people into submission. That's terrorism. That's exactly what terrorism is. And then he goes on to say, if those two guys die before me, I'll go to their funerals to piss on their graves. And then he says 3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. And then he says Gilbert gets 2 of them to the head. And just basically saying that he wants this guy to die. Even if he wants to try to say, oh, it's like an Office reference, I don't care. Because you've said multiple times, according to your text messages, that you want these people to die. So it doesn't matter if you're trying to make light of it. This is horrific. This is absolutely just astounding. But it's not really all that unpredictable at this stage in the game, because this is how so many of the people really feel. Mikey Sherrill, who was running in New Jersey, she went out there and defended people who were getting fired from their jobs in healthcare and education for celebrating an assassination. You know, that's actual cancel culture that's healthy, if there is to be it, because you deserve consequences for that, not for saying something that people disagree with or an edgy joke 10 years ago, because that's like the basic level of decency to fit into a civil society. And if you have half of a state that votes for this guy that wants people he disagrees with dead, then there's no hope for Virginia. And I am not naive. I understand that it's still going to be a close race. I do think, and I would hope, that Jason Miyares would hang on, because you have a strong on crime attorney general who's already the incumbent going up against a crazy person who's been proven to be corrupt with this whole drunk driving thing and how that really unfolded. And then you look at how the Democrats respond, even the ones that didn't get caught saying stuff like this. Abigail Spanberger, CIA Spanberger, goes on and says, I spoke with Jay about my disgust with what he had said and texted, and I made it clear that he must take responsibility for his words. What I've also made clear is that a candidate, I will always condemn violent language in our politics. Boilerplate bullshit, and I'm tired of it. You could easily just say, drop out. That's it, drop out of the race. Because this is not somebody who is fit to be attorney general. And it's like, oh, he must take responsibility. Here, let me go pivot to attacking Donald Trump. That's all they're capable of doing. And you could look at Jay Jones' response, which I think made it somehow worse. I don't know how you make it worse, but he did. He said, like all people, I've sent text messages that I regret. Jay, I've never sent a text message that ever has wished death upon anybody. I don't think that that's something that all people have done. And then he says, I believe that violent rhetoric has no place in our politics. Well, apparently not. Apparently not, because these text messages, not only did he say that thing in the text message, but he proved that he was wishing the death upon children, which is just absolutely disgusting. Even more disgusting than, it's all disgusting, but he reaches new lows within that level. And then he says, let's be clear about what this race is happening right now. Jason Miyares is dropping smears through Trump-controlled media organizations to assault my character and rescue his desperate campaign. It's real and you admitted to it. So that's not dropping a smear. This is real life and you should be dropping out. You could just say, I have a problem. I'm dropping out. I'm not fit. And then I don't even know how they would go from there. But instead he's like, oh, Jason Miyares needs to be held accountable because of Donald Trump. And this race is about whether Trump can control Virginia or Virginians control Virginia. Well, Virginia voted for Jason Miyares. It wasn't Donald Trump that made him Attorney General, and he's a statewide official. You're trying to nationalize a race that has no business being nationalized in the first place because you're desperate, especially now after these two scandals, but especially after this scandal. And you mentioned Donald Trump more in your apology than your actual problem with violence. He's an unstable guy. He's a drunk driver. He's a corrupt drunk driver. And he's somebody who is a violent person and is unhinged and is not meant for this office. Any Democrat that tries to conflate this scandal with anything on the right is just a dishonest, complicit lunatic, and they have no place in any civil society if they're going to be embracing or making defenses for this sort of thing, because it's indefensible. And here's a tweet. The same people who always talk about killing fascists are now calling your children fascists if they happen to disagree with you. When the left supported Kirk's murder, they meant you. They meant your kids and your parents and your grandparents. They meant your friends. They mean you. And it's true. They do. Because Charlie Kirk was one of us. He was just a guy. He was somebody that was prominent, but he had the same opinions that pretty much half the country has. And he was killed for having the opinions that half the country has. You have deranged people on the left. You have people that will openly celebrate it, people who will quietly celebrate it, the people liking all those tweets, celebrating it with hundreds of thousands of likes. And on top of it, you also have the people who happen to just sweep it up and pretend it doesn't exist. And some of those people are like Jay Jones, and they do it themselves, and it's disgusting. This ideology on the left is sickness, and we need to make sure that these people are held accountable at the one place that we can hold them accountable, and that's the ballot box. So we need everybody out and voting against these demonic lunatics. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.